Hello and welcome. And we've got a lot to talk about. Welcome to the February 2025, a psychic forecast. And we're going to talk about why the Trump presidency may be in jeopardy. And I'll get to that at the beginning of the prediction. I'm going to talk a little bit about the energy, briefly about the astrology and numerology and some of the generalities. We'll jump right into that. And then I have other predictions and stuff like that. I've got everything in my notes because there's so much information. Like I said, there's a lot to talk about. Also, I should mention that my whole area's Wi-Fi has been very glitchy. So if I pixelate or come in and out, I apologize for that. Since we had the power outage yesterday, there's been a lot of that. So if you're watching this as a video, I give the live people just a minute or two to get their notifications to come on, and then I'll start in just a second. So let me see what else. It's all in my notes. So what else? So we'll talk about astrology, numerology. I've got some channeled information for the end. I did some automatic writing earlier. I have some divination cards at the end, some spiritual practices to do for February that's succinct with this month. And the theme for February 2025 is taming the lion. And I'll explain what that means in just a moment. So anyway, hello, Blessed, Kathleen, Danfly, Roseanne, Fatima, Yoda, Brooke, Claire, welcome everybody. Lisa, gosh, you've had a nice conversation. Hello, Michael. Hello, Brooke again, Yoda. All right. So people are starting to get on. Hello, Joe. So people are starting to get their notifications. Let's see what else we have. All right, we talked about all this. So first and foremost, January was an extremely eventful month, obviously. I hope that my January forecast, my winter 2025 forecast, my seasonal forecast, the yearly forecast, I hope that's helped you to prepare, because we talked about Trump getting inaugurated. In fact, virtually everything that I predicted for January in some way, shape, or form has come true. Not every single thing. Yes, I missed a few things also, such as the nature of psychic forecast. We're reading the energy. We're basically projecting things into the future. It's all choice centered. Timelines can change. Predictions can change. And to me, the predictions are more points of references. If we like what we're seeing, work towards it. If we don't, let's change our energy to change some of those outcomes if we can. But we did talk about Trump coming in, taking extremely swift action, the polarization factor, and the stress building to levels we've never seen before, and that it's all going to happen very, very fast. And they said that he'd be inaugurated, or I should say, I wasn't 100% sure, so I predicted he'd be inaugurated on time, but at the same time, I felt like there's a chance it could have been delayed. That didn't happen. And also, I was seeing a lot of pushback that really didn't show up in the news. And I think a lot of that pushback is still coming, but he's still president. We'll explain why I feel like that could be in jeopardy moving forward. But in any event, so I see a few more people have come in, so very good. And welcome, everybody. Welcome. So anything else for this? So I've seen some channel messages via automatic divination. Okay, we said that. This is our awakening that kicks into high gear this month. So again, January was very eventful. Lots of stuff happened. And we'll talk a little bit more about that. Now the exposure, some ugly truths is going to come up also. Now I'm of light and I'm very hopeful, by the way, and I see this as all part of a collective awakening, a process that we have to go through. So if I appear a little bit doom and gloom or fear-based, I'm not trying to invoke fear or fear monger. I want everybody to understand these energies so that you can thrive during these changes and ascend gracefully and quickly during these monumental changes that are going on and that are happening. And as the old saying goes, those that fail to prepare to fail. So we want to be energetically prepared for what was going on. Like I said, I hope the information we shared in January was helpful for you guys and everything. So what else here? There. So the idea is we're going to stay in our power. We're going to witness some of the greatest miracles along with some of the greatest challenges this month and the months that are going to follow this for the next few months. To know that it's a glorious time. It's a big shift. It's the falling of the old. The old earth has to fall. The society's been built on a house of cards, built on a foundation of greed, of greed. That's the word I'm looking for. Greed, power over others versus power back to the people, and it's got to fall. And the new house built on strong foundation of compassion is going to take its place in the years that follow. Yeah, there's Agenda 2030. There's Project 2025. There's all these scary things that are happening, but understand we're in our power. We're going to be okay. We're going to see this through. And that's the main message. The forces that want to control us want us to be scared because we're more easy to control. Basically, they want us to be in panic. They want us to be against each other. So they create this division that really doesn't exist. It's just the programming, the forces that on us. Remember, whether you're right or left or up and down, whatever your views are, we all want the same thing in the end. And the more in the heart that we are, the more in our power that we are. So let's move on. I think up to about 78 people. So I think most people that are going to be on are on. So where do we begin? Let's start out with a little bit of astrology, numerology, a little bit of the energy. We'll jump right into the Trump and the politics and go into the other predictions in just a second. And yeah, this is breaking news, so I'm not exaggerating using that thumbnail by any means. This is all breaking news right now. So we're in a universal 11 month. You add up the number 2 with the numbers of the year. 2 plus 0 plus 2 plus 5, that equals 11. 11 is about overcoming the lower nature, so it's taming the line. In Chaldean numerology, the symbol for number 11 is lion's muzzle and clenched fist. And in tarot, in the old tarot, key 11 with the strength card, it's now key 8. They switched that in the second half of the 1800s, but it was originally key 11, and it had the lion and the lion tamer. So we're taming the lion, basically. That's the lower nature of our own being as well as the collective. And that's why all this is rising to the surface, so that we see it, so that we know it, so that we can do that. But it's also very spiritual. 11 has the same prefix as elevate, right? So it's about rising up. So in order to rise up to our next level, we have to learn how to overcome those darker or negative forces that keep us at bay, that keep us from ascending. So that's a big theme for this month. It's going to be a big theme in your personal life, as well as what we're going to see in the world around us. So a couple of notables. Jupiter goes direct this month, I think on the 2nd or 3rd, at 11 degrees, again, another 11 of the sign Gemini, which is an air communication sign. Jupiter is very expansive, very high vibrational energy. And also around the 23rd to 24th of February, Mars is going to go to direct at 17 degrees, which is the star card in the sign of Cancer also. So when planets are stationed, they're more powerful. Jupiter is jovial. That's where we get the word jovial from Jupiter. It's happy, it's expansive, it's spiritual, it's powerful also. Mars is very direct, action oriented. So we've got a lot of these going on. Now, also, Mars will be trining Saturn in Pisces. So there's some strong aspects. It changes the course in the World War III agenda, which I'm not going to talk a lot about because I still don't think that's going to ever happen. But certainly we're seeing the lines drawn in the sand to some degree. There's strong aspects, changes, or domestic violence, well, hopefully not your domestic violence, but I mean in countries tend to increase under this energy also. And it aids in exposing things like child trafficking. And when I started to vibe on this, they showed me children. So I'll get to that point very shortly as well. Also, we have a full moon coming up 24 degrees Leo on the 12th. We have a new moon on the 27th and 9 degrees Pisces. And we have the 7 planetary alignment. And last but certainly not least, I'll get back to the 7 planetary alignment, but it's also the Lunar New Year. This is the first month of the year of the snake. Snakes shed their old skin and they transmute the poison into medicine. We're seeing a lot of toxic energy in the world around us from what's going on in world politics, corporations, greed, all that kind of stuff. It's our job as spiritual alchemists to transmute that into medicine. So in other words, what is scary, what is oppressive, what is negative, we can transmute that into growth, ascension, spiritual awakening. And that's the energy of this month. It's the energy of the alchemist. It is the snake that's part of. It's an energy of the sign Scorpio. It's what's the right word? Well, rejuvenation, but there's another word I can't think of right now. But anyway, transmutation. That's closer. Spiritual alchemy will do. All right, and then we have the 7 planet alignment, which helps to create a magnification of planetary energy that helps open the portal of the Aquarian age. So this is really the passage, the portal into the Aquarian age. February starts out in Aquarius season, goes into Pisces season. So this really is the entrance point, the welcome mat into the new earth in the Aquarian age. But the old earth has to die. And that's why we're seeing so much upheaval and so much challenge, going on, basically. We'll talk about weather in a little bit. Hello. Oh, yeah. Thank you for saying hello, Shirley from Texas. And I know I'm missing a lot of your comments. Hello, Nova Scotia. If you're new and you want to say hi and where in this big wide world you are watching from, please let us know. We would be very interested. And also Ramadan, the Islamic holy period of 28, 29, or 30 days begins on the 28th also, so or 29th, but right around that time. So all that is happening, all that's lining up. And what else do we have? Pluto's at 1 to 2 degrees Aquarius all month, so Pluto's in Aquarius to stay. Last time Pluto was in this what's the right word, at 1 to 2 degrees Aquarius, was between 1778 and 1781. What happened in 1778 to 1781? It was the peak of the American Revolution. There's the French Revolution. It was very revolutionary for its time. A lot of at that, by 1700 standards, a lot of new age thinking and Renaissance. Well, it was later in the Renaissance. It was already coming to the next stage. But anyway, you get the idea. So it's the height of the Revolutionary War. So this cycle, this time around in this Pluto cycle is 243 years around the sun. Brings on a similar revolution, but it's a digital revolution because we're in the Aquarian age. We're not in the Piscean age anymore. So that begins a lot of that around AI, around transhumanism. We're going to see a lot more noise around that in February. Well, we already are, obviously. Digital currencies and all of that stuff. So part of the energy update is that things are going to happen very fast, very sudden changes, a lot of surprises. I am not going to pick up on all of this. I'm going to say be prepared for surprises, sudden changes, and stay in your heart, stay in your power, basically. Natural frequencies get exceptionally high. So we come into our next level of the cosmic frequencies. They keep building and then they lull and then they build again. So we're coming to another spike in February. That's going to lead to a lot of awakenings. A lot of people are going to have spiritual awakenings, personal awakenings, realizations, epiphanies, aha moments. That's all going to increase in these energies. It's going to create a lot of changes in sleep patterns that already started around when the sun was going into Aquarius. So a lot of us are experiencing that already. And you may feel like you're sleeping less, but for some reason you feel like you have more energy. It's part of the natural upgrades that we're all experiencing. dietary changes. There's foods that you're not going to want because your body, you're going to be more in tune with your body, your spirit, and what your body needs. And you're going to make choices more based on that rather than habits or comfort foods as part of the ascension. Remember, this is overcoming the lower nature. So place some focus on that in this energy, and you can clear a lot of crap that's been holding you back for a lot of years, if not a lot of lifetimes. Very, very important stuff. So what else? Natural dietary changes. Many will have urges to stop drinking or using cannabis or things of that nature. I don't drink, but I do enjoy my cannabis from time to time. But you know what? I've been losing the taste for it, and I haven't really been using it hardly at all lately. And I think that's going to be happening for a lot of people, or whatever it is, whatever habits that tend to bring you out of your whatever it is, your spiritual flow, whatever. Not to judge anything like alcohol or cannabis to be non-spiritual. I don't believe any of that stuff. In fact, alcohol's called spirits for a reason. Maybe not for a good reason, because there's certain people that undergo spirit possession after they start their third drink. I noticed the third drink rule. But anyway, I'm digressing a little bit. And a lot of people are going to feel more energy moving through their body, more heat in their hand, realizing who they are, realizing they're healers, more messages from extraterrestrials, from their spirit guides, ascended masters, angels, direct communication with God, spirit, or source. It's all part of these energies, these new energies that are coming in this month. More sensitive to ascension symptoms, but also there's something that's not talked about a lot that I'm coining it as EMF symptoms. They may have another name, but we're in this electromagnetic field that's artificial based on Wi-Fi signals, cell signals, and whatnot. And that causes changes in the body, the electromagnetic fields, that causes symptoms also. Both of these, the ascension stuff, both of these become alleviated when you're more in your heart, when you allow more flow through you, because especially the ascension symptoms come up when your physical and energetic vehicles aren't handling the higher vibrations well, and you have the symptoms. But if you can become more of a vehicle for higher energies rather than having obstructions in your energy field, then the ascension symptoms lessen. So that's part of the key also. Very good. So what else? See a trend toward more compassion, wisdom amongst leaders. It may slip out, but I feel like that we see that more sky anomalies. Oh, hello, I've been saying that every month since October, and every month I've been right. So hello. More begin to channel connect. All right, I said that already. Disparity increases in society. Those are the old agenda start to clamp down. So that's part of this energy, because those that control everything, the globalists, the elite, whatever you want to call them, mass awakening is their worst nightmare, because then they're going to be shut down. So they try to block it in every way, shape, or form. So you see a lot of clamping down also. The so-called opening up or less censorship on Facebook and stuff like that. No fact checking. Trust me, it's cosmetic. It's still alive and well. It's a little bit more subversive, but it's still alive and well. Resonance is at 64. Okay, so we that's part of it. We go look into the Schumann resonance and other measures of how the earth is responding to these fields, because as the frequencies increase, they affect the earth also. It releases some of our karma, some of the stuff that's trapped in our energy field that might be based on traumas, dramas, or stuff like that, but it also releases it from the earth. So the earth also absorbs the traumas of the wars, the conflicts, and everything. And as it's released, it can increase aggression for a while, but it's going to get released and it's going to heal. So everything's healing under these energies. But while it's still active, there's a lot of turbulence, and it's felt in different ways, and it shows up in different ways. Earthquakes, for example. We talked a lot about earthquakes the last few months, and there was an anomalous earthquake in the Northeast, as we talked about. I still think something, I'm more leaning toward Baja, but in Southern California, I still think there's one coming, even if it didn't show up in January, although obviously one's coming. It's just a matter of when. I mean, that's just the nature of Southern California. But anyway, more anomalies, channeling, disparities increase in society. those are the older gender, and spiritual gifts like telepathy, um, being able to do mediumship, channeling, psychic stuff, all that stuff increases because these are natural human abilities. So moving right along, page number 4. So why would, I mean, a lot of you guys are aware of this anyway, but why would the Trump presidency be in jeopardy? So I wrote a few things down that are going on that are likely to be happening. And these events that are happening now will plant seeds for possible changes to be clear. To be clear, I don't think that he's going to be removed from office in February. So I want to make that clear. I think, though, that there's going to be a lot of pressure and it could lead to his presidency being in jeopardy. But I don't see that happening this month. But that said, there'll likely be a lot of heat and a lot of attention that could set the stage for dismissal later on. And I'll talk a little bit more about that. So here's a few things that I see. Firstly, again, I hope that the January and the winter forecast help prepare you for this, because a lot of people were in shock when he got in and things happened so quickly, rapid fire. So he told you that was going to happen and to relax. So basically, now I have to say, when I started to ask about Trump and I tuned into my guides, the Neil Young song, what's that called? Rocking in the Free World came to my mind. Only at 68 likes. Yeah, please like this video if you like it. So the song Rocking in the Free World came to my mind. Specifically the line, he's got a kinder, gentler machine gun hand, which is probably my favorite line from that song. So I started to sit down, ask about Trump, and that line came up. And what I think is going to happen is that we're going to see things kind of level off a little bit. I don't think it's going to be so intense. I don't think it can be as intense as it was in his first week of office. So I think we're going to see a little bit of a leveling off there. I mean, Trump will still be Trump. There'll still be a lot of what's the right word? Controversy around that. But I think there's some leveling off, and I think you start to see a little bit of a humane side, if that's in the working definition. I'm not making any judgments, by the way. I'm not saying I'm pro against. I just want to be, almost like an anchor person, like, not taking sides or anything. That doesn't mean you shouldn't take sides or I shouldn't. If you have certain values and you support a certain ideology, by all means do that. But in order to bring you the information, it's important to not be biased, right? So I'm stepping out of any of my disposed beliefs or that kind of stuff. But anyway, so let's see, here's some things to prepare. So he told you to take swift and polarizing action. That's happened. So okay, so you got the free world. Yeah, so the world will rock for him against, but it's going to open up a lot of eyes, I want to say. So after a fast, chaotic start, things settle down slightly in early February. Sudden twists happen energetically, volatility this month. Now, some of the things that I'm seeing that may go against him is that I'm seeing impeachment talks again. When I think he was impeached twice, right? In this last, I mean, that in itself doesn't mean much. So I think more of the events around January 6th and that stuff comes up. I think there's investigations opening up in 2 states of possible voter manipulation. I think Pennsylvania, I think Nevada was the other one that came up. Maybe Arizona, but one of those 2 states. Now, some of this stuff, it happens, and then you don't hear about it on the news. Like we talked about a lot of pushback before he came in. I even entertained the notion in my January forecast that they may try to enact the 14th. That never happened, but I have some ins. And, we have to understand we cannot trust the news, whether it's your so-called non-biased news, whether it's right-winged or left-wing. Virtually all information channels are corrupt right now, and they'll tell us things to polarize us, to keep us more off guard, if that's the right word. So we can't trust everything we're hearing, especially mainstream news, but even some of the ones that you might be more trusting of. Use a lot of discernment, in other words. So investigation of potential motive manipulation. But I do think that behind closed doors, the Democrats were really looking at this and they didn't do it. And I have to interject that I really feel like it's a big, like it's a show more than anything, and that people are basically guided or programmed to vote or favor certain candidates. So I do believe that they're selected, but I'll get into that in a second. So what else? I think one of the things is that some of his supporters are or will be becoming a little bit disenchanted, and part of that has to do with a $500 billion, what was it, $500 billion being allotted to the Stargate project, and part of the Stargate project is the AI agenda, which really mirrors a globalist agenda to create more of a technocratic society. Um, this includes things like, let me see, like crypto, cryptocurrencies and digital currencies, use of mRNA vaccines that our president is said to be against as part of healing for cancer or cancer shots. We talked about this several months ago. Um, and all of the funding for Stargate, and it kind of comes across as sort of a sneaky way of getting AI and getting that agenda happening so fast before people can even say, "What, I don't want this," or whatever. We know about AI. It was in the news. We knew it was coming, but we heard probably 5 or 6 times more often on our news feeds the name Taylor Swift and artificial intelligence. They really kept that under the radar, and all of a sudden Trump is in and putting all this money and promising these AI infrastructures are going to be built, a global network with the US as the headquarters, to be China, by the way, also, and things like that. So I think what's happened is people question if he's really a freedom fighter, and I'm not saying one way or another. I don't have an opinion on this. Well, I'll put it this way: on YouTube, I don't have an opinion on this. On my Patreon site, Spirit Mind Family, then all of a sudden I have more of an opinion on things like that. By the way, if you want to join our inner core community, it's Spirit Mind Family on Patreon, and we do a lot of exclusive videos and channelings and gatherings and stuff like that. But in any event, people question if he's a freedom fighter or is really working for our freedom. Why does it appear that he's acting on behalf of the globalists and the globalist agenda? So these are things that are going to have to be kind of ironed out for him not to lose support. The ones that are really the diehards, that they'll never, no matter what he does, they'll always be behind him. So that's not a problem. So I feel like there's two separate investigations against him and against Musk. You have two separate investigations against Musk and the prospect that there was some manipulation of the voting through digital usage and stuff like that. My feeling is, and I think this is why that nothing was pursued before the elections. And my feeling about that is that it just would create so much chaos. Well, there's two possibilities. One, that it would just embarrass the heck of the US. It's like if they were investigating voter fraud, then the world perception is the US can't even handle their own election. So it's that kind of a thing. And then the second thing is I do believe that the globalist agenda wanted him in charge because they knew he would be very polarizing. I don't think they can control Donald Trump. And I'll just say that second point especially is very much opinion, not necessarily facts. I want to make that clear just based on what I'm seeing, but I really have no evidence to support that second part. The first part I do. So it's not necessarily that is what I'm trying to say. It just appears that way. The other thing is health, and I mentioned that a while ago, that I don't think his health would be a factor before he gets in, but that may become a factor later on. I feel like Spirit's saying right now he's in pretty good health. So I don't think that's going to be a major thing, but questions about that could come up anyway. So where are we? Page 6. So also the tariff laws are likely to be modified. So I think that that's something else. So anyway, that's kind of painting the picture why there may be some danger in the presidency. Personally, I don't think that's going to be enough. Impeachment and all the pushback. But we'll see what happens. And I feel like Spirit's saying that there's one or two unknowns that I'm not picking up on yet that you might be aware of that are also going to be that are going to come up that may become questioned around that. And we have to remember he's whether he's guilty or not, he's been convicted of 30 some odd felonies. There's a lot of questions. There's a lot of stuff. There's always controversy swirling him, but on some level he's protected, whether it's divinely protected or protected by those that want him to stay in charge. And the other thing is I'm seeing a lot of people that are working towards undoing the system in positions of government also. So, for those of you that believe that he's part of like a freedom network, I don't want to say he's not. In a way, he could be in certain ways working on both sides a little bit. But whatever the case, and Michael Mars saying Mr. T is don't. Yeah, that's what I think. Yeah, the Republicans. That's a good point. I'm not going to flash a lot of these, but this is a good point. That it really have to be more his party that gets jaded. So yes, I think he's in jeopardy, and thank you for that, Millie. Also, and they do try to do that. Yeah. So in any event, tariffs laws, come up as part of it also. But I think it's going to wind up being okay. But again, keep an eye out for things that come up. Now, Greenland is very rich in gold. They found that, and there's mineral deposits. We talked about the largest mineral deposits in the world being discovered several months ago. I was thinking maybe gold, maybe diamonds. A lot of these precious metals are used in technology, and the global warming or the climate change that's denied by so many has melted polar ice caps or glaciers. I mean, also polar ice caps too, and exposed bare land for the first time in a very long time. And people have been finding gold, and you can get you can get shares. You can buy shares in Greenland now in Prospect, but the U.S. wants that land, and I think there's going to be moves towards acquiring that or acquiring some rights to that. So we'll see how that all plays out also. But it's a very rich mining area, I want to say also. International policies become under fire. New allegations to answer to about Trump's international policies and stuff like that. Where his presidency remains in jeopardy, I believe he'll withstand it, but I do believe he steps down in 2 to 3 years for one reason or another. I thought that, interestingly enough, when he was president number 45, I predicted that. Obviously, that prediction didn't come true. And now he's number 47, the 2.0 version of Donald Trump. And I'm still seeing that. Whether he feels like his mission is accomplished, it's his health, he comes under too much heat or whatever, his place in history will be firmly written in stone, in my opinion. And whether it's his intention or whether it's just how things play out, and I've been saying this well before even 2016, this is the figure that's going to change everything, that's going to expose the truth, whether he's exposing the truth because he propagates the corruption or he attacks and exposes the corruption. That is your call. That's your call. I have nothing to say about that, but either way, that's what's going to happen. And this is going to really expose a lot, allow the society to crash, to rebuild on stronger foundation, and for new earth, for the golden age to begin. Of course, I want to believe, and I hope that it's part of a planned, from people that are more enlightened than myself, but there's enough evidence to support that it's a different reason that we have to consider that. All right. So what else? I feel like it's enough. Decide whatever his personal agenda is he's for some right now. I think he's either serving the deep state or the globalist agenda, or appearing to do so in order to continue to do what he's doing. So again, there may be something more to it. Again, I think there's a mixture of each. Some people call them white hats, black hats, gray hats. I think there's both in the government. I feel like they're saying, Trump's more of a gray hat because he is still part of that whole globalist thing. Why? Because he's money, and money is power, and the globalist movement is all around the richest people in the world. Hello, Elon Musk. Hello, Donald Trump, and other people connected to the cabinet. But the white part is that on some way, shape, or form, whether it's more of a spiritual mission he's not aware of, or it's something that he's actively fighting for, there's the side that he's part of the movement, yet is exposing the movement. Does that make sense? You guys can let me know. And I'll just clear this quickly. When Mr. Tree knows what China's been up to, they've been stockpiling gold, silver, and other commodities for some time of our rigged system. Thank you for that. Yeah. And who is a creep? Me? But in any regard, that's what I get about that. So anyways, so again, what else? Talk about that. So one, extremely polarizing. Two, that there is an invoking of chaos and fear that's going on. He and his supporter will argue it's a necessary shakeup. Lower, or he exposes the truth. Watch out for actors and truth in the show. So again, remember, and this is my opinion, but I feel like it's factual that there's really one party. Both the right and the left answer to the same authority, basically. There's one bird, two wings, two corrupt wings of one dirty, corrupt bird, basically. And the two-party system is likely to crash and burn also as time goes on. So in any regard, so decisions of Trump raid, deep state followers, move money. Okay, so if you want to see where the conspiracies are and the movement of the corruption, follow the money. And with each thing that happens, from fires to disasters that are questionable whether they're natural or man-made, to acts, laws that are enacted, to collaborations around the world, you'll understand the conspiracies when you understand that it's all about money and power over others. So when you're able to understand the language of corruption, then you get a much clearer picture of what's going on in the world. So, hey, it's very simple. Okay, who gets more power? Right. It's very simple. If you don't allow the smoke and mirror games to affect you, basically. So also around the world, I see two top leaders stepping down in February as well. And momentum movement, the continuous movement towards the right-winged agenda. Again, it's not just the U.S., although there's smaller countries than the U.S. that have multiple parties, but that's a whole other thing. 2 or 3 U.S. officials step down. There may be some of the Republicans that don't agree with what's going on in the White House. But it's a lot of the agenda is pretty obvious to me and to some of you. But I think by month's end, not all, but most of us, except for the very heavily programmed people, are going to have a better idea of what the agendas are and how they're playing out, and all that kind of stuff. So anyway, there's other predictions. We still got a lot to go, basically. Hey, thank you, Renee. Yeah, if anybody's here and wants to say hello and where you're from, please let us know. And if you enjoyed what we're doing, please like, comment, subscribe to the channel if you want to see more of our videos come up on your home feed. So Spirit showed me children. So that was the first thing. I know that's been more in the news. Other things with Trump are the, immigration laws, and I skipped over a point about the kinder, gentler machine gun hand, that reference from the Neil Young tune, that I think we're going to start to see, everything being relative, a more compassionate side. Because right now it all seems very cold and calculating. It's like we're enacting these laws without really considering who's getting hurt in the process. So I think that there's going to be like at least a shred of humanitarianism that starts to show up in our administration. So I think things are going to mellow out. I think part of the splits was creating chaos and confusion, and that gets people more compliant also. So again, these all part of a plan. So I think it levels out. They show me the children, exposure of trafficking, photos of underground cells and tunnels reaching mainstream news. In January, I even proposed the possibility that sometime this winter that there may even be a live feed that just kind of gets on one of the news feeds that wasn't supposed to be there, that somebody technological does that. Development could be there's developments that could be some top stories this month around trafficking, people connected to the entertainment field. We and others have been saying this for a long time. If people, especially around the entertainment field, can become revealed, we see corruption exposed on many levels. We talked about that increasing in January. It's been out there. If you've been paying attention, it's really been out there. We could start with an innocent man receiving a presidential pardon. How many innocent people receive presidential pardons based upon the fear that the incoming president is going to persecute them? If you're innocent by a court of law, it's not going to matter. But anyway, this is my own view. So I'm trying not to interject too much of my own personal opinion on take on things, but exposure of trafficking. All right. Developments could be top story. People connect entertainment, especially become revealed. Corruption is on many levels, much of it around the pharmaceutical companies. And we're seeing a lot more whistleblowers stepping up. This is going to, again, put more spotlight on Fauci. And I want to say more than just Russia wanting to try for crimes against humanity. We have to get others on board because, again, Russia is perceived as the enemy, although some people perceive Russia, especially Putin and Trump, being in cahoots. I'm not sure how true that is, but what I am sure is that it is all a stage. And once you get down beyond the show of politics and world movement and world events, we see certain friends are really enemies friends. There's a whole different thing going on behind closed doors. There's agendas that are being worked on and being played out and stuff like that. And another reason that some of the Trump supporters, getting back to that, could get disillusioned is because they see some of his acts mirroring some of the Project 2025 agenda. So they see that, and certain minorities and certain alternative lifestyles, they feel they're coming under fire. So all this plays in, but back to corruption being exposed. So we learn more about false information around a certain event that began in the world in 2020 and a certain protocol to supposedly control that event from spreading based on 11 months of research, when I trusted the science and said, nope, it takes 8 to 12 years to validate the safety of a certain protocol that was being mandated and forced upon others without proper medical backing. And this is coming out, and this is really, I'm going to talk about this more as fact than fiction or opinion. And honestly, but by March of 2020, I knew how this event spread. I could see the clustering, and I knew how it happened, and I knew the way that they were working with that. It might work for an influenza outbreak, but would not work because this spread it differently. It clustered. Clustering means that it takes a certain time element of exposure for it to happen. And I'm not going to talk all about that because we'll be here all night. And then the CDC came out with similar information in June, basically. But standing 6 feet away with a virus that's so light it'll never hit the ground, and takes anywhere from a half hour to 2 hours to deactivate. 6 feet ain't going to do a whole lot, basically. And if you're in a room with a lot, with people for a long time, no matter what you wear over your face, some pathogen's going to leak out. So anyways, I don't have to say more. You get the drift of that. I think the reason I mention it is not to get on the soapbox or to promote a personal agenda, but to let you know that these are exposures that are already happening. These are questions that have been coming up since 2021. That's going to be more in the spotlight because more people are getting courageous. There's strength in numbers, and there are people not just in that section, but in the technology sector also, and the insurance sector, and that are connected to the asset management companies. Think BlackRock, Vanguard, State Street, that are dying of suicides. Basically, so a lot of a lot of this is coming out and getting exposed, not just on the events in the 2020s of a certain pathogen, but on a lot of different levels and areas, and a lot of people are questioning and stepping forward. So corruption on so many levels is getting exposed. Trends towards questioning recent fires, evidence of tampering in certain events becomes more revealed. It's already out there. There's already evidence of that, whether it's the DEWs, arsons, whatever it is, use of HARP technology to create diversions in temperature profiles in the upper atmosphere and electromagnetic shifts. When you change the upper atmosphere, you can steer weather currents, large-scale weather currents. Theoretically, and I think actually, being a meteorologist by trade, I graduated in 1980 with a BA in meteorology. I studied all this global warming since the 70s and weather modification and all that. It was alive and well back then. Now it's much more sophisticated. So we can argue if that, we can debate on that because we don't know the exact answer. We just know that something is really up with that. I'm getting to the WEF and the economy in a second. I'm seeing your comment, Michael. So trends towards questioning that, voter manipulations, secret alliances, list goes on and on. I'm also seeing, things with farming, that could be, Gates coming under fire. Others will. I'm not going to get all their names. I'm not going to get everything, just the flavor, just the energy. This is the time of mass exposure. It started already. It's going to hit the next level. It's also Aquarius season, Uranus freedom, evolution, revolution. The revolution will not be televised. Why will it not be televised? Because it's digital. It's not happening on the battlefield. It's happening subversively. But make no mistake about it. Mark my word. We are in a revolution, whether it's this country or other countries or a global revolution. It's happening. And there is, people are organizing. People are preparing to fight what's going on. The agenda for transhumanism, to a technocratic society, to leveling more centralization and control, using technology and other means, money and so forth to do that. But people are waking up. People are too smart, and people are organizing. They're getting together. So our message is not to buy into the fear. We have to know. We have to assess our playing field and apply strategies. But we're going to be okay. Again, I don't mean to sound doom and gloom or anything like that. Hopefully I'm not, because I'm very optimistic and hopeful, but we have to be aware. This is the shift. Things have to tank. The old unsustainable has to fall for the new golden age to rise up, basically. All right, so what else? Farming, supply lines being cut off intentionally, right? That's happened before. It'll happen again. Sounds like a Talking Head song. Changes overall, which I can't read my own writing. Anyway, moving right along. Wow, there's almost 250 of you on. Thanks for being here, everybody. Possible sealing off of the White House around demonstrations. So more demonstrations. Some of them could be violent. I talked about that in the January forecast. It hasn't happened yet. It may not happen. Again, not everything I say is going to happen, because what's in the energetic fields now and the timelines now could change. But the prospect of there being some demonstration or some terrorist activity around the White House definitely still exists. Possible attacks, they're showing me affecting a third of the Pentagon, like an explosion. But I feel like that'll get averted, but that may come up also. Suspension bridge collapsing. I've been seeing that for a while. I think more of that. Supreme Court steps in on some of the directives, so we see more of that kind of action going on. Arms deals reach with Russia, Ukraine, and U.S. So I think that's going to continue. We predicted that a while ago, as well as the treaty or ceasefire. I think is what I called it, not a treaty in Israel and Gaza or Palestine, and that certainly happened. And the hostage exchanges. Two other countries changed leaders. Leaders stepped down. Operations of the cabal or deep state become revealed, and they divide into cells so that they're not as easy to track. I think that's already happening. Yeah, I've seen, as I'm talking, a lot of underground movement, a lot of deep espionage going on, a lot of people using remote viewing, psychic abilities to spy on the cabal and vice versa. A lot of spiritual technologies being used in this revolution that's not being televised right now. And let's go into the economy, because I think you guys get the idea, right, of what we're going at. So big changes in global finance, big reset happening in February. In past months, I was describing that as a collapse or a crash. I think I was slightly in error. I don't feel like a crash. If there is one, I don't think it's going to be anything that we haven't seen before. I'll put it that way. But as I'm talking, I feel like the same Bob. But what happens? So my guides are talking to me. It's the value of currency changing, and people getting very disillusioned with some of the markets and everything like that. So there's a real restructuring. So you could see more volatility in the markets. Basically, stocks go way down, they go way up. That kind of a thing. Businesses closing, crashing, things like that. Not necessarily crash, new notes. So there may be like new forms of currency being created, beside digital currency. I mean, physical notes move more towards the quantum financial system. So everything's really going quantum in the world anyways, including money. So, quantum is more energetic basically, but basically what that means now, firstly, the centerpiece is going back to a gold or precious metal standard. I believe that part of, there's different agendas, but I think the good agenda about the digitalization of currency and cryptos and stuff like that is creating a system that it actually has to be backed by something tangible. I don't understand crypto well enough to talk really about the ins and outs of it, to be quite honest. But I know the American dollar is not on any standard, which basically means they can print as much money or create as much money digitally as they want. Nothing's backing it, so it's basically worthless. In our society and societies leading up to that, gold has been the standard of wealth. And maybe in the next several hundred years, we'll go into a fair exchange where we don't need currency. But for right now, we still do. I mean, it's a big awakening, so it's a big shift. But anyway, not necessarily a crash. Income taxes. Okay, moving towards quantum financial system, and also the cryptocurrency and that it's part of the from what I understand, part of the Stargate project. The AI is a big piece of that also, and digitalization, movement towards AI and transhumanism, all part of that agenda. I feel like there's some revision in the income tax structure. So we know Donald Trump has a plan to eliminate the income tax, the IRS. That is not at all a new idea. And I started to be on board in Jerry Brown's time in the 70s, where he proposed a blanket sales and property tax, to eliminate the IRS. The IRS costs taxpayers a ton of money. Without the IRS alone, our taxes could go down. Seriously. How that's going to look on paper, I'm not 100% sure. I don't feel like imposing outrageous tariffs is the answer. That might be a start of it. I think it's going to reflect on property taxes if it goes in that direction. Sales taxes and stuff like that, because the government still needs money, right? So it's not like you can't until we evolve to a certain point, I think we have to have taxes, right? Sort of that new stimulus package. That was interesting. So we may see a proposal of some kind of a new stimulus package to revitalize the economy, especially later on in the month. So look out for that. Some reset of the prime rate, so or redefining of that. The interest loan. Remember, we are programmed for lack. We live in a debt-based society. Ever since we were little toddlers, we were taught money doesn't grow on trees, and you owe, so you have to work, you have to work. So basically we're programmed into lack mentality. So when we're talking about the prime rate, well, that's the centerpiece of the economy. That's about how much money you owe, right? The prime rate, the interest on loans, starting with housing loans, right? So that's all changing anyway. Some reason the prime rate, major banks, financial institutions closing or restructuring. Is that the Federal Reserve? We've been talking about that. International banking, between February and April, they're saying. So this may not manifest in February, but in the next several months, I think we're going to see a big change in that. Mergings of organizations like the WEF with the multi-government organization. So that could be the WEF merges with God forbid, what are they called? The BRICS Plus Nation, or what are they? Are they still the group of 7, or are they the group of 20? But in any event, I think we start to see some, again, there's movement towards that centralization, right? A financial leader or czar steps down, so we'll see who that is. I don't have to talk about pulling out of the World Health Organization. All these organizations are linked, by the way. It's all centralizing, because that's already happened. So volatility increases in the market, talked about that, changes of corporate structures, some big companies shutting down. So that we're seeing that as well. Oh, thank you for whoever mentioned the Baron. Thank you for that. Because that's supposed to be on my on my list. Watch Baron Trump, especially. Because I feel like this is going to be a huge player, and not necessarily for a good reason. And there's something else. Oh yeah. And I think we're going to start to see that projected increase in silver really starting to take shape. If not February, March into April, but I think we start to really see that also. All right, so volatile market changes of corporate. Okay, so back to weather, or to the weather. Continued volatility, notable earthquakes again. I see something around Italy. So that people, and I'm not going to hit where the earthquakes are going to be. Just know that the Earth is undergoing an energetic shift. It's going to lead to more earthquakes and volcanoes. But Southern California or Baja, and you could see a record Midwest or Northwest and European snowstorms. I think in the Northeast later in the month is going to have a blockbuster nor'easter that may affect my area or New England. Changing in weather patterns is going to mean the West gets colder and wetter, which we need. Early severe season in the South and the Southern Plains and the Southeast. So tornadoes and severe weather outbreaks become more common than they usually are in February. The Northeast probably stays cold, but not as cold, I want to say. And what else about weather? Northeast lackluster. Yeah, but keep an eye on these volcanic eruptions and earthquakes and stuff like that. So I think that's going to really be a big thing. More fires. Yep. Yeah, more fires. Canada. So they're talking about something big that may come up in Canada also. The relations with Canada really starting to be reworked in February. So I didn't really touch on that. So that's just coming and kind of forming, a little bit more or tweaking the European Union coming up also as well. Again, we may see movements that resemble movement towards an agenda toward a World War III, but again, I don't think it's going to happen. So I don't think we have to really worry about that. So where are we? 11. So we're getting there. I've got a few more things to go. I knew this was going to be a long one. Big uptick in solar flares. with so unusual places getting boreal auroras. I believe polar shift is happening, so I think we see the effects of that. It's probably just going to be a few degrees, but that could mess up navigation. It can affect the electromagnetic field, which affects communication, satellites, and stuff like that. So I think we see a lot of upgrades with satellites and a lot with technology. Big, huge month for technology. Lots get rolled out in February into March. Lots of new things. New and a lot of it's AI generated. Polar shifts happens. Yeah, I think the sun is currently undergoing a polar flip, or will be very soon. Happens every 11 years, so we're in that peak now. Also near Gulf Coast, Southern Plains could get a bigger earthquake, maybe another one in the Northeast. And yeah, those of you that thought I was crazy predicting a Northeast earthquake in January, well, right off of New Hampshire, there was a 4.0, so it happened. I also see, getting back to Antarctica, ancient ruins of old cities starting to be uncovered. I feel like Spirit's saying that's already happened. If anybody's seen that on the news, that's already happened, let me know. But I think there's going to be more of that. And again, under the melting polar ice caps, I think we reveal that there were societies once thriving in Antarctica. At one time it was bombing tropical near the poles, basically. Yeah, hit the like button, people. Yeah. All right. So I see a lot of you guys are there. Yeah, I'm not talking specifically so much about the vaccination program. Just use your discernment. I'm not an anti-vaxxer. I trust spirit. I trust my body. Again, and thanks to whoever posted that, because there's a point that I wanted to talk about. We see these very high-tech cancer therapies coming out using mRNA drugs. We see a lot of sophisticated vaccine. We see a lot of potential problems with them. Trust your body. I'm not against vaccines. I'm against forcing, basically. And this is one of the things that's likely to come out about what happened 2021 around that time, because there was knowledge that the recommended remedies that people were using in the form of inoculations would not stop the spread and would not stop people from getting sick, that it wasn't foolproof. It might have suppressed it some, I'll give some credit because I don't know, but I know that I didn't get the what. I had it 3 times, the big C. Family members that took it had it either 2 or 3 times. Their cases were pretty bad compared to mine, or at least comparable. Point being is that there's a lot of misinformation, and it drives the economy, because the pharmaceuticals a big part of the economy. The agenda is profit over health and wellness. We know that. Those of you that are attracted to the Medium channel already know this. So it's kind of like preaching to the choir, right? So getting back to these very expensive, AI generated therapies, miracle drugs, we're going to see a lot of medical miracles, but understand there are inexpensive therapies that are very effective, that are known, that are suppressed by those companies that want to profit off of your illness, basically. And we have to be discerning and be in our power and research things. There are mind over matter techniques that have been proven, and energy frequency work that's been proven to help, if not be part of a healing, or I'll say support healing. I don't claim that anything besides Western medicine can heal or cure diseases. Also, what's the other disclaimer of, all psychic predictions are for entertainment purposes only. But in any event, point being is there are things in nature, there are less expensive things that have shown remarkable potential in healing things, that these very expensive and not well tested or researched medicines are going to be able to heal also. So remember that, everybody. So what else? Well, I also see a significant regional blackout. They're showing me maybe the northeast, north towards New England or Canada. I mean, that could be the result of a solar flare. There's likely to be more uptick in some battles in different places. They kind of show me, some airstrikes also in different places. But, we know that, it's hard to predict every detail of that. We know that that war is profitable, and it basically keeps people's attention in certain areas. And remember, the media's job is to direct our attention one place while they do what they wanted to do in another place. So our attention's all been on Donald Trump and all about 200 directives, were they or acts, were they constitutional? Do you have the right to do that? OMG, this is going to cause this. I'm so scared of the next 4 years or whatever. But meanwhile, our tension's there, and fear is a very powerful motivator. When we feel fearful or angry, we close off spirit, and we close off our perception, and we don't feel the energy as much. We don't feel spirit. We're not as enlightened and awakened, and we don't see what's going on, what the true agendas are, basically. So try to be in your heart. We'll talk about that in a minute. What else? Well, 13. Also increase air disasters. I did these notes a couple of days ago before the one happened with the helicopter over DC, by the way, just to make that clear for you guys. And it's funny that it happened before I'm actually doing the event, but also 1 or 2 celebs arrested. So, that's interesting. More upheaval in news out of LA. So more around that. And we see, bird flu more in the news, and a new threat, possibly China or India. And I think people are looking, bird flu is going to be the next pandemic. It could be, but I think it's going to be something else that we're not aware of. All right, I'm missing a lot of your comments, but in any event, again, hi from Central Florida. Again, watch Baron. Watch Baron. So, big spiritual evolutions. Okay, we'll talk about spirituality. That's my favorite topic. Big spikes in awakening in February, more than we've ever seen. It's already happening. More UFOs and sky anomalies, more contact. That keeps increasing. They show me toxic clouds. I know we had the mystery fog, and apparently there were parasites. And that brings me to another topic that we deal with a lot of parasites physically, in human form, astral parasites. We have to do our parasite cleansing, and you can use violet fire. That's an excellent parasite cleanse for astral parasites, entities that try to suck our energy, suck our life force. And we can do parasite cleanses. There's a certain horse dewormer that's affected with that, but there's also herbal things like that. But I meant to talk about that we are under siege from parasitic energies that are draining our life force. And we can do things to help keep us safe, to keep us empowered. And I'll talk about that in a second. So there should be toxic clouds of all things, not just fog, but clouds in the sky. I'm not sure exactly what that means, but it may be that through some of the the chemtrailing, which is partially admitted now, and other projects to engineer weather, that it may create rain that's not necessarily good for things or good for life, or have, they're saying it may have a little bit of a radioactive signature. So all the more reason to keep our systems clean. And again, we're not trying to freak anyone out or scare people, quite the opposite. We want to empower people, assess your playing field, know what's going on, apply strategies to overcome it. That's at the very centerpiece of spiritual warriorship. We need to be spiritual warriors now. New groups forming, people moving off grid. Big movement begins in February into the spring. People seeing the writing on the wall. Nothing's going to stop AI at this point. It's going to be a thing. It's going to take over our society to some level. Is it going to be to the point of being completely technocratic? I certainly hope not. But it's coming. So we have to accept that. Even if we don't like it, we have to accept that. Technology holds vast potential for our future. It could be an amazing thing, but in the wrong hands, it can be very disastrous. And right now, there's an agenda, in my opinion, or my intuition, I should say, and a lot of other people, a lot of you here would agree with that. I do believe that there is certain powers that want to leverage AI to further centralize things and further push their agendas forward. Again, they would like to have more people more transhuman, but it's more like replacing biological functions rather than enhancement. As time goes on, we can use technology in harmony with our biology. But remember, before the telephone was invented, people relied more on telepathy. There's so many natural human abilities. And again, I'm not anti-vaccine or anti-medication by any means. It saves a lot of lives. But before we had that, those people that were more spiritually connected were able to enhance their immune systems and understand things about frequencies through dance and music, through plants, herbs, through breath techniques, through other techniques to enhance their immunity in order to not get sick when the pandemics or epidemics come. And we lose that ability. What we need is a balance of the two. We need the harmony of the two. It shouldn't be one or it shouldn't be the other. Modern medicine saves lives. It saved my life. Speaking of which, this is the 8th anniversary today when I had open heart surgery to replace my aortic valve, my aortic root, and part of my heart because I had an aneurysm that I had a heart attack or a version of. It turned out that I had an aneurysm. They didn't know what happened because I got the surgery 7 months later, and the surgeon found that the aneurysm had ruptured. And he said if I had gotten emergency surgery within 3 hours, I would have had a 50-50 chance. I got surgery 7 months later. It healed itself, which is medically impossible. And I'm not bragging. We all have these higher healing potentials. We can heal from things that doctors don't understand. But at the same time, I would not be sitting here talking to you if I didn't get the surgery done. So, both things are very, very valuable. So I think we have to remember that. So overcoming negative shadows, overcoming this House of Cards society. This is already becoming a really, really long live stream. And I'm sorry about that, but there's obviously a lot to talk about. But it's a big spiritual revolution that's happening, and we can suffice by saying that. So we're overcoming a lot of negativity, a lot of our personal shadows and collective shadows. The House of Cards of corruption keeps falling. We hear more about new news about the harms of electromagnetic frequencies, the smart cities, and how the fires and the natural disasters align with areas that they want to build these smart cities on. Corruption trickles into the mainstream news and the new. And I think that 1 or 2 news agencies are going to be shutting down. Whole structure of the world changes, entering the heart of the earth changes, and stuff like that. So I want to jump into some of the exercise. I get go on. There's more, and I know I'm likely to be missing a few things. Yeah, that is quite a story. Yeah. Is there somebody trolling? It doesn't matter. If I catch it, I'll close it down. Yeah. So it's an interesting experience. So firstly, we're in that 11 vibration, the lines of muzzle and clenched fist, overcoming the lower nature. We're stepping into higher frequencies now. This is the transit to New Earth. This is the portal of the higher frequencies that's coming in. That's why things are a little bit challenging, but it's for a really, really good reason. I'm really hopeful. We're living in the most amazing times. We really are. God's spirit or source is in charge. The more we stay in our spirit and stay in our spiritual practices, the more safe we're going to be during the changes. And the more we're going to be able to inject positivity into the collective so it doesn't have to be so traumatic, that some of these more harsh predictions don't come true because we change the timeline. We can do that. So that's the message. But the thing is, as we go into these higher frequencies, we can't take the old stories of old Earth into New Earth. They're not a frequency match. You've got to work on integrating and clearing the old shadows, the old traumas and dramas. So this month it's hugely important to do some shadow integration work, whether it's through therapy, and I have a whole playlist on how to do shadow integration work. And the video I direct you to is 5 shadow work exercises. It's an early video, so it's not my best from a presentation standpoint, but the exercises are exercises I use that are very effective, that I've cleared probably 90 to 99% of my old shadows, and I'm more in my power than I've ever been. Then the next thing is to do your heart-brain coherence. That's the practice we talk about all the time on the channel. The heart's the largest electromagnetic generator in the body. Now, we are under constant attack on our electromagnetic field due to the advanced radio or loosening the radio wave frequency, that being the Wi-Fi signal, cell signal, that tear down our electromagnetic fields. But if you build the frequency of the heart, you become resistant to that. So that's one of the reasons heart-brain coherence is so important, because it does just that. It increases the frequencies of the heart. It joins the heart in the brain, and the heart can't be programmed. So once the heart becomes activated, the brain becomes resistant to subconscious programming. You increase your electromagnetic fields, and you're more safe in this electromagnetic world that we live in. There's something called Gwen signals too that are going to help to power the smart cities. That's a form of I don't know if it's a Wi-Fi signal or cell signal, but they're towers like the cell towers. But anyway, so we want to do things that are going to increase the electromagnetism of the heart. Heart-brain coherence does that. And again, I'll leave the link for a playlist when this becomes a video. So how to do this quickly? You get present. When you're present, then you start to transcend your identity with your human self, and the less attention you give to your physical human self, the more attention goes back to the quantum field, the realm of spirit, of that realm that created everything. So you get very present, very grateful for the present moment, very compassionate. You feel that welling in your heart. You feel your brain feel what your heart is feeling. They join. Then you increase your electromagnetic fields, and you become coherent with spirit also, and your superhuman abilities start to kick in. Higher intuition, anti-aging, increases the immunoglobulin A. Joe Dispenza calls it the nature's flu shot, just doing this practice. So do that. Also, breathing exercises, using your voice a lot. The idea is the bottom line, and you can do this any way you want. You want to increase your electromagnetic resonance now, and you want to clear the old shadows. That way you raise your vibration, you become more of a match to the higher frequencies that are coming into the earth, and you ascend. You are able to use this wave of ascension to reach your next level and have your next awakening, basically. And so do lots of yoga, qigong, things that increase that, breath exercise, and working with sound vibrations and music, solfeggio frequencies, all these spiritual tools that increase your frequencies. That's what to do in the month of February. So I wanted to do, I got about 4 pages of automatic writing here. I'm going to say, so hello, everybody that's new. Again, welcome. Thank you, Michael. Yes, I can be selfish too, but thank you for that. We have to be a little bit selfish, right? I've got to take care of myself. If I keep saying yes when I need to say no, then the other person will think I'm selfish. But anyway, this is what came through. I work with a group called the Master Teachers. Some of you are familiar with them. They're interdimensional, and sometimes they do automatic writing, but usually I do frequency channeling. We do that here on the channel. We do frequency work here on the channel. In fact, we did some last night for the new moon and Lunar New Year. Welcome to the year of the snake. Shedding that old skin, transmuting the poison into medicine. That's what we're doing. Taking all this toxic energy and using that as fuel for our awakening and our ascension. Now, if you guys like mediumship, if you want to connect with people on the other side, well, Sunday at 7 p.m., I'm going to go back to 7 on Sundays because nobody came in when I did a 6 o'clock. We're going to, for an hour, I'm just going to give messages from your loved ones on the other side. All you have to do is just sit. If the message is for you, let me know. So we're going to do mediumship messages on the Medium channel on February the 2nd, 7 p.m. So I wanted to mention that. Now back to the master teacher. So we did automatic writing. I didn't edit my writing because sometimes I like people to see the process also. So dear divine souls, this is your changing of the guards. What you see in your world is just the snow on the tip of the iceberg of what's going on energetically in your reality. Know that this present now moment has been in the making for thousands of Earth years and is a more manifesting of shifts happening in multiple dimensions and timelines. And these changes on Earth are your portal to higher consciousness. This is all a product of your collective consciousness, for you have chosen this time and space, this reality for mass awakening to happen. There will be more signs from the sky, more anomalies, more visits from higher beings and higher realities, as all is connected with this now moment being the, I can't read my writing because it's automatic writing, being the something with no, so part of this now moment being the center of the circle with no circumference, and what energies you align with in this now moment permeate through all of reality. This is the junction, the portal of change, acting like a big magnifying glass of energy beaming into this present moment. This is the time of the big shift, following your collective quantum jump. This is the time it all happens and it all changes. Ascending, blending with the cosmic frequencies, healing the fragmented connection to all levels of reality, intentionally leveled upon humans to keep them weak and vulnerable, as it's your multidimensional connection that is the wellspring for your life, your earth life. You may say this is finding God, when in reality it's finding yourself. You are that God, and that they are you. So keep meditating on the heart, expand the heart frequency. This is how you dispel the negative control systems in your world and anchor in the light for yourself and for your earth community. Stay in the heart, dwell in the heart, expand the heart, all shall be revealed. Dwelling in the heart, dears, where you feel safe. We, the interdimensional beings of light, thank you for your service. You chose to be here to herald in the change, the fall of the empire, and the ascension to new earth. The time is now, the mass awakening, the ascension is you. So that is the message. So very good. So we're doing mediumships. Then there's a couple of other things that I wanted to mention. What else is going on that's cool in the channel? Well, we talked about Spirit, Mind, Family, our inner core group. So that's on Patreon, and we do more frequency work and assisting you with your upgrades. We have if anybody wants to learn mediumship and channeling and trance healing, trance channeling, we're doing a mediumship retreat in the Catskills in middle April. So there'll be information on that. What else? I think everything else is on. If I think of anything else, I wanted to do some. For what I missed, I wanted to do some divination cards also. So remember, guys, healing the divide. That's the name. You divided, we're weak. United, we're strong. We can have different views. We can have different takes on what's going on in the world. But we have to understand that we're not each other's enemy. There's a common enemy that's leveling this war between what you want to call the right and the left, or different people. That's the enemy. So, the one of the messages, we don't have to agree with each other, but let's lay down the hostility, the venom, and everything, and understand we all want the same thing. We may have different opinion or views of how to get there, but there's a common enemy. Don't let them divide us. that's why heart-brain coherence is so important, because the heart's the center. When you're in the center, you're resistant to all that negative programming because you're in a higher frequency. Programming can only affect when you're in lower frequencies. So anyhow, what do we have here? Well, I have the Starseed Oracle cards for you. So let's get a message there. Now, there's a point that popped in my mind when I was reading that I was talking about earlier that I glossed over. I can't think of what it was, unfortunately. I mean, I guess I kind of skimmed on it earlier, whatever it was. Usually I remember afterward, and I'm like, oh, yes. They show me dolphins. There may be something about dolphins that come up, or some messages about the dolphins or about the waters. I think as time goes on, microplastics and what's going on in the water is going to even become bigger than climate change, stuff like that. Whatever your take is on that. So let me clear my mind. Ask Spirit to guide my hand. What do we miss here that you want to share with us? And the card that I pulled says, this is, you're not for everyone. Embrace your weirdness. Face your true north. And, in my training, the north, that, here in the Northern Hemisphere, that's the only place the sun never goes, is the north. So it's the place of darkness, the place of winter, the place of stillness, the place of the void, but it's also the place of lessons and learning. So that's interesting. There's, what I'm thinking is that they're trying to show me an exercise you can do that I call the void technique. That's an original, but it's based on things I learned from Eckhart Tolle and others. You get so present, you're not a name and you're not a body. And then you want to find the spaces of void or nothingness within the spaces of everything. You have to get very present. You could start by finding the places of silence within the sound, because everything moves in waves. Everything in the cosmos moves in waves. That's why there's frequencies. There's longer waves, there's shorter waves. Everything has a pattern. Everything has a rhythm. Everything has a cadence. The more in rhythm you are, the more in sync with the universe you are. So learn how to dance. If somebody says that they're enlightened, they can't dance, I'm not going to believe them, because I know that they're not syncing with universal rhythm and flow, basically, or can't drum, or can't, whatever it is. I mean, that's my own opinion. It doesn't make it fact, but to me, understanding the nature of flow and rhythm, then you understand energy, chi, and prana. And when you connect with that, you become more powerful. You link more with source. So, so when you're getting present, find the spaces of silence within the sound, because it's waves. There's a crest and trough. The trough of the sound waves is complete silence. Then find the place of darkness within the light. Then find the place of non-existence within existence. We always go in and out of the void, probably hundreds of times per second. When you're able to find that, you can't intellectualize it, but when you're able to do that, then you blend with the quantum field, and you connect more with spirit or source. So I think that they're trying to say to be aware of that and to do that, and of course embrace your weirdness. Don't let people, try to guilt you and shame you. That's a lower frequency than anger, guilt. No, anger and fear, I'm sorry, according to David Hawkins anyways, and others. So don't, be weird. Let that freak flag show. Don't let anybody guilt and shame you. If somebody was taunting me because I did a video, said, I'll bet you're a hippie. I'll bet you hug trees. So what did I do? I sent a short video on how to hug a tree to that person. I entered their comment and sent them that video. It's like, I embrace my weirdness and F you at the same time, right? So let's do our, I've been digging the medicine cards. I want to see if they can give us a message through the medicine card. You're welcome, Janet, and everybody that's still here. Over 200 of you are sticking it out. Very good. All right. So I'm sorry if there's somebody that's just ignore. If anybody's being upsetting, just ignore. They're not getting the message if they're trying to inflict polarization and counter the teachings of this live stream. People, it makes people very scared, and they don't realize it activates their survival instincts. And I hear Jesus in my mind: "Forgive them, Father, for they know not what they do." So let's send them a lot of love and hope that they wake up and then they see that there's an agenda to make them behave that way. All right, so I'm just clearing my mind. So we're coming right in here, the end here. Here we go. Wow. So the mouse tells us to scrutinize. So look for the details, basically. So I think that's the message. It's like, don't take things at face value. Like if something comes up on the news or right wing or left wing or whatever it is, scrutinize it, get the details. That's what mice are good. Also the mouse medicine beckons us to take a broader perspective on things and don't get cubbyhole, because mice don't perceive much beyond their own whiskers. But there's a Native American legend around that. So once the mouse, the gift is scrutinizing. That's an important and valuable gift. So be able to scrutinize that, but don't get caught up in rigid or limited thinking. What you want to do is learn to expand. So the mouse learned how to do that. Basically, they learned some lessons and learned how to do that. And then once the mouse got that, then the mouse turned into an eagle and got an eagle's eye view of everything, basically. So once you understand what's going on and you find the minute details or whatever, you don't allow yourself to get cubbyholed. You allow your vision to expand so you see the whole thing. But that's basically what that's about. So so that's good. Crisis. We call those mismatchers, basically. That's the term that we use. So again, it's all born out of fear. People don't realize that. So is what it is. So this is the what frequency to work with. So this is the sacred geometry deck. And then we're winding down. I promise. We've been an hour and a half. I know that's crazy. Remembrance. That's really part of our whole mission on planet Earth. Whether you're a starseed or an old soul, a new soul starseed or an old soul starseed, we come here, we forget. When we start to remember, we start to come into our power. We start to remember who we are as spirit. It's part of our spiritual growth and training. So this is really what this is all about. And you can meditate. And we're just finishing a parallel lives month on Spirit Mind Family. But if you join that, you get the meditations on how to remember your other lifetimes that we did, and how to regress yourself and how to identify other lifetimes. Again, it's only $5 a month. Hint, hint. You get a lot for that. But the card is saying the frequency of remembrance supports our memory of everything that we have gone through as a soul and body, providing us with valuable information and tools to flow gracefully with and in this life. And that is what I have for you today. So thank you, everybody. Anything about the Department of Education? Maybe not so much in February, but yeah, I see a lot with that. And as I'm talking, I'm seeing little children doing yoga and stuff like that. Education is going to come under fire, but that may be a little bit later on. And yeah, thank you, SK, for bringing that up, because that's important. That could be another reason they were showing me children right when I started to vibe on this month. They show me children. Yeah, and I shouldn't always assume that it's child trafficking. There could be other reasons for that. Education. Good point. Thank you, SK. I think you're a channel also. I do think that slowly but surely in trickles that we start to see a little bit more of a unification with education, not so much of a labeling. It's going to take a while to undo the damage and everything, but I think people are waking up to that. So yeah, I think that's all part of the awakening. At the end of the day, proper education means that children don't have to be left behind, because they only educate children in a very specific way for the most part right now. There's alternative education, but if you train the development of the right hemisphere of the brain equally with the left, right now it's about 85-15%, 85 intellectual, only 15% intuitive, creative. I forgot the word to it. There's another word. But then anyway, you get the idea. But I think that's going to be balanced more of a 50-50. And as Albert Einstein said, intuition is the true source of genius. And we're all geniuses, but we're using such a small percentage of our minds. So we balance more of the right brain in and become more whole brain. Well, 1% of more brain more brain being utilized means about 10%, about 100%, they're saying. It's a logarithmic function, in other words. So you add another 1% of brain functioning, you increase about tenfold the brain activity. Yeah, question everything. That's good. Yeah. It affects those that are supposedly learning disabled more, but there's ways to teach them too. It's more experiential. There's different styles, basically. So anyway, this has been really, really long. No Child Left Behind, bad program. Yeah. All right. Yeah. So very good. So new children being birthed now that are higher frequencies. Yes, Felicia, absolutely. So there's each generation there's higher frequency beings coming out of there, because this is where it all changes. And again, like I say, more ETs, more higher dimensional beings working with us. We can become more aware of it. I think toward the end of the month, we may get some very tangible things happening, some more significant evidence. And like I said, even though we've been an hour and a half, I'm really just touching on the surface of things. There's so much going on. And the idea is everything's changing. This is what we've been preparing for and what we've been waiting for. And yes, the person or people that they're constantly voting, constantly posting around Trump, this is the figurehead, whether it's by design or by him exposing his own corruption, whatever your take on is, as I've been saying for about 15 years, this is a catalyst for a lot of exposure and a lot of change. So hang in there, everybody. Even if it gets tough, even if you feel scared or whatever, when that happens, remember, work on going back into the heart and know that the one that created us, Great Spirit, God or Source, takes care of us always. We're going to be fine through these changes, and we're going to be better than ever. And that's what I have for you. I love you. Thanks for being here and sticking this out, all 200 of you, 238 now. Thank you so much, and be blessed.